The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So get ready, nerds, because we're talking to Jon Iver, the showrunner for Norsemen, our favorite comedy on Netflix. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on this special episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. I'm joined, of course, by my fantastic panel of nerds. Matt Vader is here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man.
Are you stoked?
I'm really excited, actually.
This is awesome. Our ambassador of estrogen and shield maiden, Jude. Welcome.
Oh, hello.
How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm very excited today. And the producer of the show, Matthew Kadish.
I am super excited because this is the man with the answers. He's the one who can actually tell us what was going on.
Yep.
As opposed to all these actors who just like show up, memorize their lines.
And of course, the man of honor, Jon Iver. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're glad to have you here, and we're very excited to talk with you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, sure.
And I'm sure you know we are super fans of your show. So
I'm here, man.
My first question. I'm going to set the groundwork here. What got you into writing, and how did this whole Norseman situation come about? What inspired you to make this show?
I have been my colleague Jonas. He's not here today, so I said I would take all the credit for everything we've done.
Perfect.
Just putting that out there already. We have been working together since 2003 in advertisements, and we've been sitting across for each other for like 20 years almost. And we had just been, copywriters in advertisement for many years, and eventually we started kind of, people asked if we wanted to try to write something for TV, and we like joined some other shows, but we kind of, we were not that happy about writing for anybody else really, because, somebody took the material and they changed it around because we were like junior writers, and they were like, the directors did something else with it, and the result always came back different than what we set out to do, really. But we didn't have any experience with how a script worked, how you kind of write the script, how that works. We never did any like schooling in terms of filmmaking or anything like that. So it was kind of starting on rock bottom and just trying out what to do, and we did that for a while, and NRK gave us an opportunity to make this silly little web series that had it was a budget of $2,000 or something, $3,000. We made that, and we wrote that, and that was kind of our link to saying hi to these people at NRK, and we did we made a children's show that we kind of developed that ran for 7 seasons or something. This together with NRK as well, and then this idea of Norsemen came along, and that was really out of nowhere. It was. I think I saw What They Do in the Shadows, the film, the movie.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, there was something. I don't know. It was something extraordinary about how they kind of took a very, you've seen that 1 million times before. Everything about the genre, about the vampires and all that stuff, but they had a different take on it, and that take was like, okay, you can't use the mirror, so you have to draw each other before you go out on town, and there's. You have to be invited in, so it's only one pub in the town that invites them in, and that's like the shittiest place, in the whole city. It's like all these kind of things that kind of resonated, and this was in the midst of, Vikings was on, and Game of Thrones was on, and then we were like, nothing has really been done in that, like comedy in that space before. So I think like that evening, I think I wrote like 10 pages. For this script.
Oh, wow.
Just started, and I came to work to Jonas, and I was like, I think we have something here, let's and then we just started to explore it together, and it was really almost too easy when we kind of found that way of thinking and the way of like doing, like thinking about the Viking age. Like I think one of the first things we wrote was the execution of Kark, and like how to apply our modern logic. Like you would ask questions. If you were going on like you were going 4 weeks on a boat, you would want to sit together with somebody you like just like the school bus, when we were going on a field trip or whatever with your school. So kind of applying all these stuff, it felt kind of endless when we first started writing it. So it basically wrote itself, like at least the first 3 scripts. It was like, yes. Wow. It's like the energy behind it was, and also that we didn't have anybody that had asked for this. We hadn't pitched it anywhere. We had no plan, so it was kind of nothing to lose, and it was just on our spare time we did this. And
so you're telling us that we have Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement to thank for Norsemen?
Well, I don't know, but they inspired. That was a different way of seeing the comedy. I think that that caught on.
Yeah.
I think the comedy resonated with me immediatly from this show. From the second the chieftain came up to the front of the boat and goes, hey, maybe I was a little bit too hard on him there.
Rufus.
On Rufus. And it's like, no, it's just right. Because, we all know the scene. That hooked me.
Yeah.
That from that moment on, I was like, yep, this is the show. And you explaining what we do in the shadows kind of influence there and everything is perfect, because we all love what we do in the shadows. We talk about it all the time. So it makes perfect sense why we would gravitate toward this kind of humor.
Yeah, and it's perfect. While we're at it, we should give you credit.
I was just about to say
for discovering this show for us as a podcast, because we did it's over a year ago now. We did a Vikings week on our podcast for the main show, and he's like, we got to watch this show Norsemen. And we're like, a TV show, really? Like that's a lot. It's
like, it's 6 episodes, guys. We're good. It'll be all right.
And we watched it, and like Vader said, immediately.
We couldn't get enough.
Yeah, when Arvid and the chieftain are like talking on the boat, like, should I punch that guy in the face? Oh, no, it's totally cool, man.
And Arvid just like, I need more Arvid.
The Hong gang.
Yeah, he's my spirit animal, man. I love that dude so much. I really do.
He lives just up the street from here. Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny because we always compared Vikings to The Office, but what we do in the shadows is so much of a better comparison.
It's perfect, yeah.
Yeah, but also they are very like on the nose where we are not. I think that they're like their universe. They're allowed to take it even further in one direction, as if we are trying to stay in the drama of it, kind of like. And I think that's, when we also in the beginning, we were like, to do this here, we need a photographer that is like, he knows it's epic and stupid has been a tagline. Epic and stupid has been like what everyone has been working with, and everyone kind of gets that right away because it needs to look epic. We need the scored like it's Last of the Mohicans or whatever. It needs to be grand. Oh. We need those big shots. We need, they need armors, needs to look great. Hair, makeup, all that stuff needs to work for this idiotic stuff to work.
Yeah.
I mean, the Last of the Mohicans reference there is really true, because I love that movie for its cinematography, but I immediately got the scene of the old dude at the beginning jumping off the cliff. Yeah. And the camera work and then panning it back. And he's like, and the other guys are all like, oh shit. No, that's not good for me. Okay. I'm just going to go. It's like, I'm sorry. I'm just going to start gushing.
We're just going to go over here and
come on, guys.
Won't hear from us anymore. Is that okay?
How about if we just, go away?
Yeah. So you talked about how like you guys didn't really have a plan at first for how to turn this into a show. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of actually getting the funding and getting this show made, and then when Netflix stepped in and how that whole thing happened?
I mean, we basically we went to NRK with our first 3 scripts. Or I had a friend that worked there. He came by ours. We had a studio and he did some advertisement stuff.
Can you explain what NRK is?
Sorry, NRK is like our national broadcaster in Norway. It's like our BBC.
Okay.
So he was by our office, and he was doing some voiceovers for some commercials or something, and I was like, hey, we have this script, you want to check it out? And even before that, I was like, we were writing it, and we had like Jøgge, who plays Arvid. He was in the script. He was just called Viking Jøgge, and Jarl was called Jarl Øygarden, because his name is Jon Øygarden. So we had all these. We had the cast ready, and that also made it easier to write like dialogue straight away, because we kind of knew all these actors that we. From our work, and like Tron and all these guys were like, and I was constantly calling them and like writing out checks I didn't have the money for. Kind of like, yeah, we're making the show, and you have a part, and you have a part, and you read this, and that's it. I was like really working it. So by the time that script got to NRK, like everyone heard of this project somehow. It was like. So I kind of went we went all the unconventional routes into making a show, and also because we'd never made a show before, and we never pitched anything before, or we never never done that part of the process, and so we needed a producer, and we got a hold of Anders, who made Lilyhammer for Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, he was in LA, and I called him, and I was like, yeah, we're two guys. We have this script, the Viking script, but it's a comedy. And he was silent and was like, okay, I'm in, That was that bitch. So that whole ball started rolling with NRK, and we were sitting this meeting, and they were like, yeah, we love it, and we want to do it. And who do you see directing it? And I was like, we are directing it. And they were like, oh, okay, yeah, right. So we left the meeting, and
Sure.
Jonas was like, what the fuck? We're not there. We never, yeah. So
that's awesome. It's like,
great.
bro, what are you doing?
I wish it was that easy here in the States.
Right.
It's like, I'm directing this bitch.
So that was kind of,
awesome.
yeah, and that kind of things fell into place, and and the first time when we started shooting, we'd never been on a set before. I'd never worked with a photographer before. We'd never been in a makeup trailer. We'd never done anything. So we're like, wow.
Wow.
They were like, yeah, you have headsets. Oh,
man.
Thank you. And you can sit here.
It's incredible how new you guys were to all this, and how well you did.
that kind of, that fearlessness kind of helps a lot when also because we really felt that we had a really great script and a great idea, and there was so much enthusiasm amongst the actors, and everyone involved was like, everyone was really gung-ho for like doing it and getting this done. So I think like with that kind of energy to a project, it's kind of unstoppable, at least at first when it starts rolling. So it's kind of like that. I think that also is why it works so well, because we had like 2 or 3 takes at the most for the actors, since they did it in 2 languages. So it was nothing. And everyone really wanted more takes to like get into the flow. But, not being able to do that because we didn't have the money to do that also gave it another edge. And it was like every take meant something, and it was that also like was a part of the energy on the set. So yeah, I think all of those X factors really brought something to this.
So you talked about when you were writing the script and creating the characters, you had specific actors in mind for these characters. And so I wanted to ask you about Jarl Varg. So his backstory is probably the best villain origin story I've ever seen.
I agree.
And where did his backstory come from? Did you already know that was his backstory when you started writing this character? Or is that something that, you were like, oh yeah, that guy, the actor that plays him, like he would totally do this.
Male pattern baldness.
I think, when we started working with Jon on that, with that character, it's like, he was scrolling through loads of photos of inmates like on death row, just to find like, well, what is the worst guy? Well, how what should he look like? With the tattoo and the dead eye and the skinhead and all that. But we also needed to give him like a flaw that probably has been with him since childhood, and that's something he's been teased, something that has been building, raging in him. Like, so he has this speech thing. He can't say R's, and I don't know if it comes across properly in English as well. He has this funny R, but in Norwegian, it's like his R doesn't work. So that was kind of the start of it. So that he has a flaw that he uses his power to kind of overcome. And so when we started on this backstory episode, like on or at least on season 3, we were like, what would make a man evil? Like in this time of age, what would, like, somebody killed his family? Yeah, we've seen that before. Well, what's like the trigger for someone like that? And we came up with the male pattern baldness, which is like so universal and so like there's no one in the world that doesn't know what that is and how it can feel, or how it's such a big part of like being human in a way.
I wear a hat for a reason.
So yeah, but I mean, so it was a pretty. I think it was a clever thing to use.
I was gonna say you kind of look like a young Jarl Varg with that. I'm like, I think there's something there.
Is this your fear? Is this your greatest fear?
Yeah. Are you Jarl Varg?
Yeah, can we see your hands? Just
oh shit! I forgot my prop. I was going to show you the props.
Yeah. Do you have the prosthesis?
Yeah. The sticks? Yeah.
Yes.
So I was wondering, first of all, the fact that you guys had never written a TV show before, bravo! Like you killed it.
Yeah.
You're like, was it just naturally talented? I guess you could say.
Yeah. It was meant to be.
But I was wondering, so obviously Norsemen got canceled before they could complete the storyline. Last we saw of the current storyline, they were kind of sailing off and Freya had just been killed. I was wondering, could you share with us what the plans were for season 4? Like, where were you going to go with the characters? What was going to happen?
Oh, and before you answer that, I want to ask a question. Was her death planned from the beginning? Because that was such a gut punch.
No, it was not planned. We didn't, when we were working in that thing, and it's you kind of don't think about the consequences of anything. You think about the story and not the fans. We got death threats in like 7 languages.
Holy shit!
I bet you did.
What?
How dare you kill her?
Yes. I mean, it's probably the most talked about thing, amongst the viewers. So my daughter saw the show the other day, and she was crying when that happened.
Oh.
So it made an impact, and that's yeah. But no, it was not planned.
Yeah, so season 4.
Yeah.
What happened?
We want to know.
We actually wrote the proper season 3, like the following season 2 already. Like we wrote the first draft on it, so we have that. But I mean, like a scruffy draft of that we have, but when we wrote it, we started like always coming back to stuff we wanted to talk about, and like, why, what happened to him? Why is he evil and all that stuff? And that kind of turned into the prequel. So we have we have season 4 that follows to lying about, ready to, crack on if somebody's willing to pay for it.
We're pulling for you. For sure.
I mean, I definitely want to read it.
Yeah, we're all very invested in this, and I was devastated to find out that there wasn't going to be any more.
Yeah,
and I was wondering, did Netflix actually give you any kind of reason why they didn't want to pick up season 4, or were they just like, oh, sorry guys, it was a good run, good luck in the future?
Not really. But I mean, I think it's more about numbers, and I mean, it's still traveled. I mean, so well compared to what we ever dreamt about. But I think compared to other shows, I don't know. We don't get any numbers, but I think it's done well above what they expected, but probably not well enough to have a season 4, I'm guessing. But there's a lot of shows that cancel after 3 seasons. But I feel we have unfinished business for sure, and we're really, really hoping to make more. And all the actors are really keen on it, and we're really keen on it. So as soon as that opportunity comes along, we'll be making more for sure. Yeah.
Since this was your first show, right? You got a really great cast of actors that came in and played these roles. How much influence in their characters did you give the actors as far as their roles in the show go? Like
their backstory.
Yeah, I mean, how was there, like, I know, like Carrie. There's a lot of him in Orm.
Oh, and Oystein is Kark.
So I was just kind of curious, if you don't seem like one of the actors who's like really, or one of the directors who's really like adamant about having your image with these characters being portrayed on screen. I feel like you gave these guys some rope to play with the characters. Is that accurate?
These are, they are so professional and great actors. Like, just to be able to work with these guys and have them, collaborating like we have is amazing. And I don't know, like it's, I think there's a lot of similarities in, the characters' personalities and their own personalities in a way. It kind of finds natural balance together in some strange and random way. But we had a very clear vision and a very like clear script on these characters from the get-go, and at least on season 1, and of course when you make a season 2 after seeing season 1, and that kind of things change around, and you pick up good things about the characters and the actors and what works, and you emphasize that, and you kind of like it's an ongoing process. So they have influenced their characters tremendously, and I think it's just we all kind of understood the same thing about the show and the characters and what needed to be done and what could work, and
That's a good answer. Following up with that, and we've talked to a couple of the actors in the show, and from a fan of the show watching it, I've always thought that at least a lot of this dialogue was ad lib, just the actors going off. And when we asked them that question, they were like, "Oh no, this is all in the script, like written at the table read, and we say it exactly as is on set. We might get a little leeway here and there." How did you so perfectly write this dialogue for each character? And what was the process like working with the actors and finding out the right lines to say?
Like, we don't work with the actors with the script like that. It's okay. We do the table read, and there might be changes there, and but basically we write dialogue, and I think maybe that's what we're best at writing, probably, like from like a writer's point of view.
You're just like a naturally hilarious guy.
No, but I think it helps really if you know the character. Yeah, it's all about knowing what the character sounds like, and it's easier and know what they would answer to every question. I know what they would answer every question, kind of when you're in that process, so it makes it easier to do it. But I mean, no ad lib, because it's like Jonas always says, it's like it's a reason that we've been working on this script for a year. It's not because you come into a table read one day and you have a idea that's, this is version 15 of this script, it's not like you just,
it's like, we know it's good. Don't worry about it. Just say the lines.
Like there's always a plan behind, every time we do change stuff around on set and we don't really remember, could we change this right now? Yeah, probably. And then we're like, oh, fuck, no. I remember why it's like this. It's because in two episodes this happens, and then we need this to work. It's kind of
setup and payoff. Yeah. Well, you guys did an excellent job. One of my favorite lines, and it sticks out to me. It's Jarl Varg.
Are you ready for the 3 big P's? Pale ale, party, and bone dry pussy.
Pale ale, parties, and bone dry pussy. Just the way he delivered that line, I was like, oh my gosh, that is the great. I need a freaking t-shirt that says that, man. It's so funny.
I love that. Yeah. That's pretty funny.
How do you guys come up with this outrageous comedy? Like, I'm watching this, and we've talked about this before with the actors and stuff. Like, you guys go real hard on the comedy
and dark, but it's so funny that it's fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, you write so offensively in a non-offensive way that it's just beautiful and perfect and hilarious.
Like, how do you guys ride that line?
Yeah.
Being incredibly offensive and also awesomely funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just has to have some, first of all, you have to laugh when you see it. I think that's the bottom line. I think every time things are offensive, it's because it's not funny enough. It's not well done. So it's kind of just shitty to people. You know, so to you know, we put a lot of thought into, you know, everything, and we have gone through stuff, and we you know, just tried out different angles on how to address these topics that come up, and I think it's also like, we're making a show about Vikings, so rape and pillage has to be a part of it somehow. So you know, I think like the question is how to make rape funny. Is that possible?
I love that you asked that question. That's so funny.
Like a crazy way of thinking about it. But really, it is like, okay, we need to have this in this comedy show. Okay, how can we do that in a way that is, first of all, not too offensive and very funny? And of course, yeah, if Freya is the one that's raping monks, yeah, that helps. That's a start. You know? So it's all these ways of
I love it.
Like working with that specific joke and not taking it lightly, of course, because it's nothing to take lightly. So it's just all the way trying to like, and discussing it with the actors, and you know, just the bottom line is it's up to me and Jonas and to not fuck up and make it. Yeah.
Well done. You did a really good job. There was this one scene that I always remember specifically talking about. This was with Liv and Jarl Varg. Orm was there, and she was just like, "Oh, a Jarl sperm? Oh my god!" Like she was all, like, what was the process of writing that whole scene? Because that was like that rode the line of like, this could go south real easily, but it didn't. So like, what was the process behind that? Do you remember writing that scene?
Yeah, I think I do, but it's again, it's about giving the power to the unexpected part of that scene. You know, it should really be Jarl Varg in power, but she was in power throughout the scene, and that the kind of the dynamic shifts from what you used to. If that was a scene from Vikings, you know, we often talk about like. Vikings, we do basically exactly the same as Vikings do. Our show is, you know, there's the same period of time. They travel to the England. It's about the map to the west, and you know, it's all that's pretty much like the basic Norwegian history. But it's all about just execution and shifting the dynamics, so it's not as dangerous or not as real, and you know, I think it's about that. Just the power dynamic is what saves that.
That makes sense.
So speaking of favorite scenes, one of my favorite bits is actually in season 3 where Jarl Varg tries to recruit the dragon to help him win the battle. And one of the most interesting things about this show is like up until that point, like there were no fantastical elements in the show. It was very much kind of like historically like accurate. But then like once you introduce the dragon, it's like, oh, we're going into some new and interesting territory here. And that scene where like everyone is just like their back is turned, the dragon's in the sky and behind them. I was cracking up because she's just like, no, turn around. It's right there. And they're like, oh no, he's not going to get us. So I was just wondering, like with season 4, were there plans to include more kind of like fantastical fantasy elements into the show?
No, not really. No, I mean that dragon was something we discussed back and forth many times, because you know, like you said, if that dragon really do appear, then we change the rules of the game, kind of. But this was also like the end of Game of Thrones was on, and we were like, fuck that, we need to if we're gonna show the dragon, it needs to be like, no one needs to see it. accept us, that's probably the funniest way to play it. And if we didn't put the dragon in there, the dragon lady would just be a crazy character. Like that would be, she would be mental. Like, so I think like the joke of not like turning around to see the dragon won over the rules of the game. Kind of, it's like, what's the funniest? If that is the funniest, let's do that.
It was kind of funny because leading up to that moment, the dragon lady was coming off as a complete con artist. She was like, "Oh yeah, I got this dragon, but you can't see him because he's asleep or like whatever."
One of the great bit about that too is when they were looking at the stones that had the drawings, and they're like, "Well, in this one, the dragon is the size of the mountain, and then over here, he was a puppy when they did that." It's so clever, man. I give you guys such props for writing all this dialogue because it's every single line is quotable and clever and hilarious.
So nice. And it was written in a way that made us, the audience, just as frustrated as the dragon lady was, because we were like, "It's right there." So earlier when you were talking about like, these characters so well and you know exactly what they would respond to a dialogue. So when you and your partner are writing them, like, do you have like, I write these characters and then he writes these characters and then we kind of work out the dialogue between them, or are both of your hands in each character as you're creating?
Yeah, I mean, we are
scenes. We
are just writing. We never do character mapping, or like we do a mapping of the story. This is, we try to as best as possible to map the story out, and then I just start writing, and I write a shitty first script, and then Jonas takes over that and starts processing it while I do the next one. And then when he's finished with one, I go back and start on that again. So we kind of do all these rewrites together, and we talk constantly. And I talk to him maybe 2 hours a day, and I've done that since 2003. So, so he's like my second wife for sure. And also because we always agree on everything. It's crazy. Like we want exactly the same thing when we're directing on set. It's like we're seeing a scene and I'm about to walk over to give notes to an actor, and Jonas is already there giving exactly that note I was about. It's crazy. It's we're in sync for sure.
Do you have a favorite episode or scene from the series that stands out in your brain?
Yeah, I love the Afraid of Heights scene. Like when Torstein Hund is afraid of heights and looking down from the top of after Arvid jumps.
Is that in the thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. The thing. And he crawls up to the edge and he looks over. He's like, he didn't live. There's no way he could live.
And I really like when Rufus is talking about the installation and everyone is so disappointed. He's talking about that it's an artist's privilege not to comment on his own art. And and all that dialogue is really actually from an interview we saw with this crazy artist that had made this horrible sculpture or something, and that was how he
I understand weird art installations. There's a really weird one right down the street here, out in the middle of the desert in Las Vegas. There's
the painted rocks.
There's these 5 pillars of boulders, and they're all painted different colors. Yeah. And people drive out there to take pictures of these stupid painted rocks out in the middle of the desert. It's wild.
Matt won't take me.
It's the dumbest shit, dude. It is unreal. So I understand the dumb sword installation. It's just amazing to me.
So I got to ask, was it your idea or your partner's idea for the non-erotic cock massage?
Non-erotic cock. I love that scene as well. That is something we have been saying around the office for probably 10 years. The non-erotic cock. And it's I love it because it's something you can't say in a way because it's non-erotic. It's harmless.
I could use the non-erotic cock massage right now.
Why are you looking at me?
I think it's so contradictory.
If it's not erotic,
If it's
anybody
not
can do
erotic,
it, right?
it's okay.
He looked right at my feet when he said that. It was so creepy.
I think one of the most brilliant pieces of dialogue in the entire series is when the chief is explaining how they don't have the technology to create bathroom stalls.
In a perfect world, we would have stalls where we could sit in peace, shielded from view. But unfortunately, we're not quite there yet.
Who came up with that?
I want to know everything about the shitting log, and I want to know everything about Orm's underground tunnels. Just spill the beans, bro.
There was this headline in Norway's biggest newspaper about this guy that had been caught sitting in an outdoor toilet.
It's based on a true story.
Not too far from our house here, and
Oh my God.
it's like this lake, and they have these campsites, and there's this outdoor toilet. I don't know what you call it, like
A shitting log.
like a shitting log. Yeah. And this dude had been sitting down in that toilet and looking up and doing whatever. I don't know what his plan was, but that was the headline. That was probably
Staring right into my brown eye.
that was 25 years.
That is
Oh.
next level.
So that caught our memory, and yeah, true story.
Like, oh, Orm would like to do this. That sounds perfect. I'm sure Corey was thrilled.
With a lot of stuff we read it. I remember when you talked to Corey. I saw the interview, and he talked about when he's partially being raped by this Torstein Hund when he's dressed up. And that day, on set, we got visitors from the National Film Institute, or like the it was like the representative of the west coast of Norway or something like that, like officials trying to see what some of their money went to.
That's funny.
Conradi was here, and he's like a big deal, and he really wanted to see this. And I remember them coming up behind me, like I was sitting at the monitor, and I was like, "Yeah, hi, shaking. Okay, let's go for it." And then that started. And they were like, "All right, that's what they're making here."
Perfect.
Oh my God. His description of that whole scene, he's like, yeah, some things were a little too anal for me.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He also said he lost every fight.
So speaking of Orm, I was just wondering if you knew from the beginning of creating these characters that Orm and Kark were brothers.
No, not in the beginning, but or we talked about it, like we talked early on about that being a link, or that Kark has some sort of backstory that we hadn't explored, and all that we always said, wouldn't it be fun if he was like the chieftain, or he was really the chieftain, or all so it's been lingering, and we knew it, I think, when we wrote season 2, but in season 3 we kind of found a way to deal with it. And also, like, I think it's very similar to what we did with the dragon. Like, don't show it. You show the audience, but no one else. And kind of with his tattoo as well, like, everyone knows the truth, but he doesn't even know. So yeah. It's a very sad thing.
Yeah, and the only person who knows is Hildy, and she's not telling anyone.
Yeah, no, she's like, I'm not losing my status. Does that storyline go through into the season 4 that you wrote? Is there more with Kark and Orm and all that?
It was season 4 called The Rise of Kark.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I think I think the show deserves a proper ending. So I
think it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah. How do you feel about going to Apple TV? Because
we know some people.
We know some people.
I would go anywhere. We could make a movie even. We just want to give it closure. Yeah.
Yeah.
fundraising time.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Start a GoFundMe page.
Kickstarter for it.
Yeah. Another one of our favorite shows is on Apple TV. It's called C. And we interviewed the showrunner of that, Jonathan Tropper, and we were telling him about your show. Like, have you watched Norsemen? Are you looking for new stuff?
And how would you feel about having 4 people from Las Vegas be extras in season 4?
That too.
That would obviously be had to happen. Of course, you're invited.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's a lack of redheads with giant glasses on the show that I think you're really missing the mark.
No, you're welcome. You're of course welcome to that.
Wow.
Got it on video.
Verbal contract. Let's go.
So I wanted to ask you, one of the most interesting stories about Norsemen, in my opinion, is how when you guys first got picked up by Netflix and got US distribution, you guys actually went on Facebook and you created like these big Facebook ad campaigns where you were showing clips of the show. And that actually broke into the American audience where like they'd never heard of the show before, but on Facebook, it just like these little clips started going viral and people were like, we got to check this out on Netflix. So I was wondering first of all, that was brilliant. It was a great tool for independent filmmakers like yourselves to kind of come in and generate interest, because I think Netflix kind of pushed you guys based off of like the amount of views that you got off of your Facebook campaign. So can you tell us a little bit about like what inspired you to do that? Like what was your strategy behind it? And do you have any advice for other independent filmmakers who might want to use your strategy to kind of push their own stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think like we knew we were on our own and we knew we were not prioritized at all. It was more like a, cheap test for Netflix. That was really, that they didn't invest much in it, and it we knew that it would just be like one of a million on that platform. So there wasn't really that much to do when it's just me and Jonas and our producer Anders who kind of spent our own money funding that. We spent every dime on the Facebook campaigns. We spent hours every day inviting people that had liked the videos to our Facebook page. Just, all that is manual. So it's a crazy amount of work to do this. And also, to make the clips, to find what works. The fashion clip worked really well. The Orm shooting the bow and arrow, like in the grave, his brother's grave thing. So I mean, with that, we didn't really have many tools at our disposal other than our Facebook. So it was a smart move to get clips out there, and also like when I see shows and I find new shows, it's always because of clips I have seen somewhere or like scenes that are picked out and reviews, of course, but mainly it's it's something that catches your eye and you kind of very quickly see the style of a show and you see the quality of the show just by if this is something that catches your interest. So I and a big machine like Netflix would not, they don't even push their own huge shows. It's all algorithms that does that. And to really get into those algorithms, I think you need a push for sure.
Talking about the amount of work that you guys put in to create this show, one of my favorite things that you guys did was filmed it in 2 different languages. You filmed it in Norwegian, and then you again did the whole scene all over again for an English audience. Can you tell us what the motivation was for doing something like that? Because that is an immense amount of work that you put on yourselves. What was the thought process behind doing that?
The thought was that we knew we had a good enough script to that somebody abroad would probably, maybe, hopefully like it. And we were talking about, but do we want someone else to remake it? Obviously not. We want to make that, and the only way to kind of have the power over that process was to do it like this. And we did not know how much work it would be. We thought it would be like, Anders was like, it's 2 takes, extra takes. but it's a lot of work, and we, I don't know if you know like how many pages is normal to film in a day and stuff like that, but we filmed like together in both languages maybe 12, 13, 14 pages a day. Like I think like in normal TV show you would probably do 1, 2, 3 pages a day. So we were like, we were working, we were skipping takes. We're like, fuck it, that's good enough. The Norwegian, the English. Well, did we do the Norwegian? Yeah, no, yeah, do it again. I think we didn't get, it was chaos. It was chaos for
It's amazing how it came together so seamlessly, though.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that you guys did that, because I think if, I don't think a lot of people understand how many TV shows we watch over here are remakes of European shows,
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that you guys filmed it in
really
English, because I think it would have lost something if they'd had different characters and different actors do it. And it's just a special show.
Yeah.
You guys hit that sweet spot.
And there's a charm to having that accent, that heavy Norwegian accent in the show. For us listening to it, I mean, we mimic it because we think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And we're like, I wish I could talk like that.
So also like when we saw Vikings, they tried to speak like that. They have this accent. And if there was ever a show that you could, do English version of, it's a show about Vikings for sure. Because, if we were doing some contemporary crime thing, it would just be out of place and a bit crazy. But also I think because the audience was used to seeing Game of Thrones and Vikings and all that in English, it kind of also brought some, authenticity, or I don't know, something that resembles something they've seen before, and it elevates it up to what we wanted to do to make that comedy work. Again, back to like having that scenery work, having the makeup and all that, all those things in place. But we didn't have a buyer for it. I mean, Netflix never heard about it until it was finished. So we were like, we understood how much work it was when we started the post production. We had to edit in both languages. That's twice the work. And since we had so little takes from each scene, we had to borrow. So like when you don't see the mouth completely in the season 1, it's probably a Norwegian take used in English, and like we were cheating around there to make it work. But our editor Rodrigo has done a really, really great job.
So can I ask, how did Netflix kind of decide to come pick you guys up? Did you guys pitch it to them specifically? Like, how did they get involved?
It was through Anders, our producer, who did Lilyhammer. So he had a connection there, and he got us a meeting. And we didn't really talk to anybody there other than it was through acquisitions or something. It wasn't creatively like we were not a part of any creative like talks at Netflix at all at that time. It was just somebody had a pot of money to buy shows for, and that was it.
Did they like have any input into like seasons 2 or 3? Like, did Netflix come to you and say like, can you guys do this in this season or anything like that? Or did they just let you do your own thing?
What would you say, besides filming in both 2 languages, what would you say is the most challenging thing that you had to deal with on set when you were making Norsemen?
I think the fact that we were we were filming it on an island on the sea, it was, there's no sets. The houses that we film in are built by archaeologists based on what they found there. It's tiny, it's smoky, it's dark. There's no window. I mean, it's like the conditions of working in a studio. It's like very different. So I think that also, you're cold and it's raining and it's outside and it's horses and it's ships, and we've never done anything like this before. And it's 150 extras walking around, and it's pretty crazy. And I think just, it's I think we were shooting for like 6 weeks or something, and it's a crazy tiring. You come back like you've been on crack for years,
So I wanted to ask you, first of all, who got the penis necklace after the show was over.
That penis necklace, along with the Orm's nutsack, is missing. I don't know who's got it.
Someone stole Orm's nutsack. Yeah.
Corey.
He's got it mounted on his wall.
The scrotum whipping.
Yeah, that necklace of giant penises.
Yeah. I love that scene because you kind of talk about modern sensibilities and into the Viking era, and it's just like I could totally see a guy being like, oh, those are way too big.
The designers that had the responsibility to make them.
Oh my God.
They were like,
I just pictured it.
Yeah, they were like teaching to us like, no, that's wrong. No. We were like divas sitting, trying to find the best cock necklace they made. I think it's made from ox or dried ox penises or something. It's something horrible, smelly that yeah.
Oh my God, I thought it was like plastic or something.
Yeah. I thought you just had like wax molds on a necklace.
Still, she's just wearing straight up cock necklaces. I've seen that. That's a legit prop.
That's funny.
Well, no wonder it disappeared.
Decomposed.
I wanted to ask you about your current project, which I believe you're doing an animated series on Netflix. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us anything about it?
Not much. I mean, we're doing a huge, or it's 20 episodes for
oh wow,
Netflix, and it's a show called Captain Fall.
Captain Fall.
It's what can I say? It's our tagline. I mean, it's kind of Love Boat meets Ozark and Norsemen, and it's a crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's based on it's on a cruise ship. And
when does that air?
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's probably this year, sometime this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Cool.
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I'm curious what kind of...
Yeah, we haven't announced anything of it yet, and the cast is not announced, and it's...
Okay.
It's a
secretive,
very funny cast, and we have I think like Norsemen, it's something that we believe in, and we would like to watch ourselves. I think that's kind of the only thing we have to guide by. So we're really happy to do this, and it's making an animation is it's a brave new world for us as well, and we've never done that before, and we don't really have like an animation like background at all. I love Rick and Morty, and I love a bunch of animated shows, but apart from that, it's like all uncharted territory. So it's been really great fun to work with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Well, yeah. What kind of animation style is it? Is it very similar to like a Rick and Morty, or is it more realistic?
I think it's more similar to Tintin, or like.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we wanted to make kind of real people, real emotions, but it's pretty out there, and it's kind of like Norsemen. It's based around a drama, like it's based on like a crime drama in disguise, kind of. It's a comedy, obviously, but it's
the crime version of the Love Boat.
Maybe we'll finally have an animated show that Jude will actually want to watch.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
She hates cartoons.
Yeah, I do. I hate animated shows. I almost said animated.
It speaks to, or hopefully it will speak to, the live action people as well.
So that kind of makes me want to ask you. So one of the things that's so brilliant about Norsemen is that you are able to kind of balance like this like serious tale of like political maneuvering and all this other stuff with the comedy, and it's brilliant because that's a fine line to walk, especially for people who've never made a TV show before. So like, how did you guys kind of sit down and figure out, okay, here's going to be the serious elements. How do we make this funny? When Orm like kills his brother and assumes the throne and stuff like there's some super hardcore like Game of Thrones type stuff in this show. And it could easily kind of veer off into that serious direction, but you guys always kind of kept it grounded in the comedy. even though there was all this like dark stuff going on. I was just wondering like how you balance those two elements.
I think like the one thing doesn't have to exclude the other. I think it's a big part of it. Like you can make heartfelt drama, sadness, and still have an element of comedy in there. And I think also we have a rule that, every scene should have something funny. We're not allowed to not have something funny in a scene, or at least like mildly, or a hint of something, or something off. And that is like credit to we couldn't have done that without these actors, because they are able to like dig into those emotions for real, and then still have that comedic element lying there, and not really taking that in, still playing it as a drama. And I think when you do that, and you also add the score for it, like it's really, it's a violin that plays into those emotions, and it's just absurd in a way. Like they're digging down the slaves, they have to bury them with a law speaker.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sad scene, that whole thing. And Kark ends up standing by his friend's grave.
The hand pops out and he has to hit it with the shovel. Yeah. That's dark.
And then afterwards as well, he's standing there. There's this music. Kark is putting down a flower on the grave, and Orm walks over and he's like, well, it's not going to be very easy to be Kark around these parts anymore now that I've taken over. And he's like, it's never been easy to be Kark. I'm 18 years old and I look like I'm 43. And still keep playing it like a drama. I think that's kind of the way to look at all of it, because if it was a different show, then that would be a total different scene. It would be either it wouldn't be there, or it would be like a funny, gaggy thing.
Yeah.
My brain immediately goes to the Home Gang.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine that scene, but filmed on the Viking show, the History Channel show.
Yeah.
It would have been a completely different kind of dramatic thing. But the way you guys played that scene off was hilarious. It's just like, it's just absurd. The whole thing. Yeah. It was just
another one
crazy.
too is Liv literally sells her own kids into slavery.
Yeah.
It was like, I watched that scene now and I'm like, oh my God, that's so dark. But I'm laughing at it.
Yeah. Liv's backstory is one of the most interesting character arcs on the whole show. She's one of my favorite characters.
I agree. I mean, it's also just taking in the time that they are in. They're in the Viking age. They're in people where 25% of Norway's population was slaves. It's super hardcore. It's no mercy. Everything is no mercy. It's life doesn't mean that much, and it's all about power, and like it's just bringing those elements into the storytelling, and like reminding ourselves that we're talking about the Vikings. We're allowed to, be cruel and do all these things, and I think that's easier when it's Vikings than a modern show.
There's just so many little weird. Goofy things. Dude. Like the rune sticks.
Yeah.
Taking a rune stick to the shitting log.
That's real.
And then you see stuff. Then you see stuff on the internet. Just like this week, I saw on Facebook where they found a rune stick. Yeah. Like a ruler-shaped stick with runes on it, and now we all think, oh, well, that was something they took to the shitting log to read. It's hilarious.
The story behind the rune sticks is that also that they found proper rune sticks in a grave, stick in a grave. With the writing that translates something like Ragnar was fucked in the ass. So when we found that was pretty early on that we discovered this, that find came in, and we talked about that, and that like explained the whole show for us as well, because if the Vikings actually in year 700 something went out in the woods, carved himself a stick, took the time to carve in that Ragnar was fucked in the ass, and distributed this to someone, well, then they are more like us than, ever imagined.
So
like
true.
If they went through all that trouble just to fuck with someone, I mean, I love that. It's just humans, you know. It's so basic.
It's the equivalent of going into a public restroom and reading the bathroom walls.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, for a good time call.
Yeah, but I mean that kind of like sums up the show really. That if they did that, well, then they're probably in touch with all the other feelings we have now. And
I wanted to ask you. So one of our favorite bits from season 1 was the Holmgang or Holmgang. I don't know how to pronounce it. But I was wondering, like, where did you hear about that, and what made you decide to want to put it into the show?
Holmgang is just one other element of historical facts that kind of when you start digging into the history of the Vikings, like you have the Etterstup with the old people. That's a thing. The thing is a thing. Like Holmgang is, and the rules behind Holmgang is kind of is how we portrayed it, but we took it to the extreme. Like if it wouldn't be an honorable thing to like for Arvid to fight a weak rich farmer, but he could if it was the Viking Age. You know that could be done, and also like the rules around homosexuality. Like so if you were the active part, you have done nothing wrong. So that's why I was so active. You know, applying those rules in our universe. So I think we have done tons of research. We've talked to historians and archaeologists, and we've been, trying to figure out, like, learning as much as possible about their way of life, about family structure, about like war, how do, all that stuff. Also like women warriors and, all that whole thing, trying to get the facts straight. And that's also why it resonates with historians. I mean, we get like scholars at universities in England and the United States that's, send us stuff, and like they have implemented it in their lectures because it's, we can look at it like this instead of the old boring way, because it's like, when history becomes alive in a different way, if you also see them as people and remember that they also were like scared and not, don't want to leave their families, or, heartbroken, or, all these feelings that you kind of take out of the equation when you read history. It's like the Romans, they did this and that, it doesn't really matter. But if they come to life in a way, and when you learn those little details about them.
Yeah, one of the scenes that sticks out most in my mind is when Jarl Varg's men are all at the table and they're like, "Do we really have to be raping? I have daughters." Like that scene was just so dead on in terms of like what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think also like we were talking about if me and Jonas was in like a Viking troop, and the leaders go, let's attack this village, we would be like, really, Are you sure we need to do this? Yeah. And just asking those questions that the modern man would. I love that.
Yeah. Is bird blindness a historical fact in Viking culture?
Bird blindness.
Look at this lovely raven with a message for us. And it's a goddamn chicken, dude. That was brilliant.
You and your accents.
I can't help it, man. If I'm quoting this show, it comes out naturally. I'm sorry.
I told you wouldn't be able to help yourself.
And I can't.
We talked about it yesterday, and I was like, okay, don't, like start doing that for 45 minutes. And he was like, no, I'll be cool.
No, I can't be cool. My last question for you is my favorite character, and I love them all, but my favorite one, every time he's on screen, he steals the show for me, is Jarl Varg. Do you have a favorite character, one that you just go to and you're like, man, I love writing for this guy and I love shooting the scenes?
I love writing for Orm, and I love writing for Varg as well, because they're so specific and so they're just great. And I mean, we love to write for all of them, and Freya. But Orm is especially funny because I also know what I'm putting Kåre through. So kind of like it.
Poor son of a bitch.
I know. We were like, what were they thinking? Oh, I knew exactly what they were thinking. He's like, they are just doing that to mess with me.
Yeah, we did.
Did you have a relationship with any of the actors prior to this? Because I know you said that you were writing them with them in mind.
Jarl Varg, Jon and Jøgge, also Arvid, Mariann, his wife, Trond, who plays Rufus, Silje, Freya, most of them I had we knew pretty well. The only one we didn't really know was Kåre. And he was such an unlikely pick for this as well, because he was like, I was like, Kåre, oh yeah, really? He's like a friend of the royal family, and you know, but he's like the sweetest guy, as you know, and he's such an incredible actor, and he never sleeps when we're doing this, because he's up doing his lines, Norwegian, English. It's always immaculate, perfect, and he's just giving it 100% always.
So I have two more questions for you. The first is, we're currently working on our own little project called Viking Cop, starring Matt Vader 74 over here as the titular character. Do you have any advice for us on how to make a successful Viking-based cop drama / comedy?
Is it in modern world?
Yes. So basically, instead of police, we have Vikings.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea. I might steal that. just start writing, and just pitch it when it's finished. Just don't.
Maybe get a Netflix deal. Yeah. My second question is, why is frozen pizza so popular in Norway?
It's pretty horrible, isn't it? It's well, it's so cold. Maybe that's why. It started off warm, and it's just frozen away home, and it became a thing.
They're like, let's just wait to cook it till we get home. It's going to get cold anyway.
I think that's the answer.
Oh my God.
Kadish always likes to close these with a bang.
I know, yeah. The pizza question, it's a thing now.
I mean, it is a thing.
Yeah.
He
I'm
has to ask
fascinated.
it every time.
It's crazy. You would like, if you came here and got a frozen pizza, you would die.
Is there a specific brand that's super popular?
Yeah. It's called Grandiosa.
Grandiosa. Okay. Amazon that shit. I want to try it.
We got to try it over here.
Yeah, we got to ship it all out from Norway.
No, you know what? I think we just need to make a trip to Norway as a podcast to celebrate like some kind of milestone.
After we've successfully crowdfunded the Norsemen movie.
Making another season, then you come and be extras.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Done. Consider it done. All right.
I will quit my job.
Would you consider filming the entire season in Las Vegas?
It's difficult. That would be a very different story, but you know,
there's literally no trees here. So
no rivers either.
Or water.
Or snow.
Or snow, yeah.
I mean, even Lake Mead's empty now. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're all fresh out of questions. Thank you, Jon, so much for being with us. It was a pleasure to talk with you. And I'm really looking forward to your next project with Netflix. And I'm not going to say I'm going to say when season 4 comes out, we will be there to cheer you guys on.
Yeah. If we can help crowdfund a budget for a movie to kind of wrap everything up.
Yeah.
Like we're there.
Yeah.
We want to help.
For sure. Yeah. And guys,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your enthusiasm and, for grabbing hold of the actors here and spreading love about the show. And, it means a lot to us, and it's so fun to sit on the sideline and see that, this stupid little show kind of travels and resonates. And yeah, so I'm thankful for having me on here today and for, spreading the word.
Of course. And, again, open invitation to any of the actors. If they want to come on the show and talk with us, we would gladly have them. You can extend that invitation to your partner and anybody else.
And hook us up with Jarl Varg.
Yes.
We want him on the show.
Maybe Jarl Varg and Arvid together.
Yes.
that would be sweet.
I've tried to reach Jon or Jon. I guess his name is Jon, who plays Jarl Varg, and he just does not use social media at all.
He does not.
But anyway, all right, Vader, where can they find you on the socials, buddy?
You can find me at Matt Vader 74 on the Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. What else?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Jude, where can they find you at?
You can find me on my webpage at thevoiceofjude.com, or you can find me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at I am Jude Juju.
Right on. Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter. KadishBooks.com takes you to my Amazon page if you want to check out my book.
Excellent. And guys, if you guys want to, if you love Norsemen as much as we do, go to our saltynerd.discord.com app. And we have a dedicated chat just for Norsemen. We love hanging out in there and talking with people. We actually had a gentleman who worked for International Combat, who I think worked with some of the actors for some of the fight scenes and stuff. He hopped into our Discord and was chatting with us. So it's great to see him as well. And Jon, where can everybody find you? And again, shout out your next project that you're working on for Netflix.
The next project is Captain Fall, and you can find me in Norway. Sadly, because we were supposed to be in LA, but COVID hit. So still find me here. But yeah, on my full name on Instagram and wherever you'll if you're interested, you'll dig it up somewhere.
All right.
Yeah, and that invite to join the Discord to talk about Norsemen extends to you as well.
Oh yeah, totally. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below your thoughts on this fantastic Netflix comedy. And have a great one, everybody. And stay salty, my friends.